if you go back and you look at the last 50 or 60 years, we've tried other things, but once you're in and you become part of that permanent political class, you just like to stay there. It's just a good place to be. So that's number one. Number two, I'm a business guy. I bring decades of business experience. He's a career politician. Huge difference. Huge difference. Number three, I have said from day one, I do not like earmarks. I want a straight up or straight down vote. I wanted to thank Mr. Lamborn last week for signing the earmark pledge, which he finally did after I signed it the week before. And the bottom line is, this guy was one of the bigger earmarkers in our entire delegation for years. So he was against earmarks, and then he was for earmarks, and then he was against earmarks. So today I think he's against earmarks, but I'm not sure. And back where I come from, we call that flip-flopping. Okay? So that's another difference. A couple important personal differences is I love to speak to people. I love to meet people. I love to go out and engage people and listen to what they have to say. And I think as a elected official, as a U.S. representative, you have an obligation to listen to people. To listen to what you folks think, to respect your opinion enough to come out and sit and listen and take that in. My opponent does not really care to do a lot of events. He doesn't care to speak a lot publicly. That's his position. And the last one that I would mention, there's a dozen or so, but the last one I mentioned I think might be the most important one, is I really and completely firmly believe that we need to back up and look at where we are on a lot of issues. Take a deep breath and have a very adult conversation with the other side and take our arguments to the other side. What's that mean? Well, in a nutshell, I'm far right. How many people right here would consider themselves to be right or conservative? Okay? And there's about 18 to 25% of us in that category. How many? What do you think the numbers are on the far left? About the same. Do you think they're going to move? No. Are we moving? No. So where is the day going to be won? It's going to be done in the middle of the country. Making the arguments for American conservatism, American greatness, not apologizing for America, what all of us get up every day and are very thankful we have, but making that argument in the court of public opinion and winning that argument, winning the moment, and getting people to join our cause on American exceptionalism, because it is the best country that's ever been created, and it's about time we quit being apologetic and stood up and said it and got people on the fringes to come join us. You know, my grandfather, who was a country doctor, used to say something that was very, very political. He said, you know, in America, if you get up early and you work harder than the next guy, it's amazing how lucky you get. Well, you know what? I want to see that for my kids, and I want to see that for my grandkids. And I believe it's being stolen from us, and so I think we've got to take it back. So it's a take-back message. There's lots of differences between myself and my competitor. I am conservative, and like I said, I'm darn proud of it. So with that, I'd just like to take your questions, your issues, your concerns, because I'm here to listen. Because when you elect me your congressman, which you're going to do, I will be your representative. You will be my customers. You will be my customers. And how do you get market share? You listen to your customers. So I'm here to listen. I'm here to entertain your questions. What are they? And whatever, ask the one question you always wanted to ask somebody who is a politician, even though I'm just now becoming a politician. I'll still answer the question. So what's the question? Yes.
Okay. Here for the term limits, which I think is fantastic. It appears after all these years of fighting for all these causes, unless we get the amendments to the Constitution, I don't know that we can get stuff changed in Washington. I mean, so the other one, earmarks, like you're saying, in Colorado, we've got one issue, one bill. To me, that should be Washington.
I know, it'll be dead soon.
So if you're talking about gun rights, you're not loading it up. Kids' school lunch, whatever.
Right.
Right. You don't drink much.
Give me your specific question. I want to make sure I understand the question.
How do we get Does it, I don't know if it's a policy, it's an amendment, or what you need to the Constitution to make that be
Well,
enforceable.
let me deal with them one at a time.
Because it's our state statute
Right.
here.
The state statutes here are clear. On the federal, they're not.
Right.
So earmarks, let's take that as an example. Earmarks would be a procedural change, which would mean you take a straight up or straight down vote on legislation. So all of us know exactly what we're voting for. We know what it's costing, we know what's in the legislation, and there aren't a bunch of these attachments that just come in ad hoc to gather and garner other votes. And there's a lot of history of that that's almost all bad. A lot of earmarks wind up going back to kind of unsavory places, or people that maybe had companies that were around others. So you want to be real careful with earmarks, but it's a procedural change, okay? It would require a constitutional amendment to move to term limits. Okay, we had it in 1993. In 1993, temporarily we had it. It came, it left. It was struck down by the Supreme Court. Now, here's the good news. Term limits polls pretty well nationally. How many in here would like to see term limits, just out of curiosity? Okay, 95%, okay? It polls pretty well nationally. We got the rights for 18-year-olds to vote in a very short period of time. We can do the same thing with term limits if we get people out there talking about it. People will say, well, wait a second, some of your colleagues won't like that when you come in talking about term limits. Well, I thought I was a representative of the people, not of my colleagues. That's a novel approach. I'm not going there to try to see how I can become a more special person with my colleagues. I'm going there to represent people. People want term limits. How do you get that? You get out in the court of public opinion, in the bully pulpit, and you talk about it and talk about it and talk about it and talk about it to the place where people start calling up their congressman. They start calling up their senator. They start writing notes. And over a very short period of time, we could have a movement that moved us in that direction. I really firmly believe that. Next question. Yes, sir.
On term limits, what will you define as term limits for the House and Senate?
I have a concept called 6-12-18. Now, 6 means 6 years total as a U.S. House of Representative elected official. That's 3 terms. Okay? Maximum 3 terms. 2 terms as a U.S. Senator. That would be 12 years. So let's say you were a 40-year-old that started, and people thought you were so good as their elected U.S. House of Representatives. They wanted to put you in to be the senator. You could serve a total of 18 years. Isn't that more than enough? I think it's more than enough. But as a House of Representatives, you can only do 3 terms, maximum 6 years. And I've signed that pledge myself. So the most I would serve as a representative would be 6 years, period. And some people said to me, well, aren't you tying your hands by doing that? If we could get a constitutional amendment to move towards term limits, if we could get something moving in that area, the impact it would have on the procedures within the House and committee assignments and things like that is dramatic. So let's say, who in here is maybe a carpenter or a developer or something like that? Okay. So let's say I was running a committee and I needed somebody that understood something about development, but you're the freshman guy and everybody else knows nothing about it. Who am I going to put on that committee? I'm going to put you on the committee because I need your expertise. I'm not going to put you and you because you've been around for 25 years. So we would architecturally begin to change how people and how committee assignments were actually made. So it's 6, 12, 18. All right? Yes,
what about moving on to be a lobbyist?
What about moving on to be? Well, I wouldn't do that. I haven't really proposed any legislation in that area. But myself, I just want to come back and be grandpa. So, I mean, in my case, I would have no interest in being a lobbyist. It's probably something that I need to study a little more because I really don't have a formed position, a formed position on how you would block that or require people not to do it. And I'm not even sure what I think about it because I haven't studied it. What's your thought?
Well, it's a pipeline to make money, and if they already had that deal being made to go in with this company, they're going to vote. for that company in their final term or whatever to get that job.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and that's the argument against it.
Right.
So, I haven't really studied it that much. I think as a guy that's 57 years old, I look and I say, what are the 2 or 3 biggest things I could move in 6 years? And frankly, I haven't really looked at that, but that might be ancillary or in addition to the term limit thing. Yes. Yes, sir.
The way the district is configured right now, we are sort of a rural area here, and you come from the Colorado Springs area.
Yes, sir.
And in years past, we felt sort of left out of the process here. And I can't give you a specific example right now, but it just seems like all of the money and all the influences in the Colorado Springs area, we sort of get left behind here with our concerns. And, I don't know how you balance that, but
Well, Derek, how many times have we been up in this Canyon City in this group so far? We've been here 6 times in 4 weeks. How many times have you seen your current representative in the last 6 years? Did that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay.
Came to one meeting in Buena Vista 6 months ago.
But my upbringing, and I'm not here to take shots, but I think a lot of it has to do with kind of where you come from. And I grew up in rural Iowa. My wife grew up in rural Illinois. So I realize that the issues that you have are different than the issues that might be in Colorado Springs. And if you're an elected representative, you have to understand all those issues. I can't just understand the Springs issues because there's more votes there. I've got to understand what your issues are. Like, what are we going to do with over the river? Shall we take a vote right here? Shall we do a straw poll right here? How many people here are in favor of over the river? Okay, how many people are opposed? There you go. It's almost 50-50. And it's funny how many things you're hearing about that. But we're aware of the issue. We're in it. Derek's doing some research. We're trying to figure out what's going on. I'm not sure if you ask certain other people, they would even know what Over the River was about, who Cresco is.
Well, one of the biggest issues, I guess, is water use.
There's a lot of water issues, and growing up, there's a lot of water issues, and then you've got a lot of issues with the forest. You've got a lot of issues in cattle and soybeans and other things that are done out here. That the PIC program. I don't know what people think about the PIC program, payment in kind program. Payment in kind program has almost destroyed my home state. I mean, there's people that have these huge mega farms. They just go away for the winter and collect the checks. I don't think that was the intention of the program. I don't think, and the small farmer guy, he's kind of out to lunch because he can't do that. So, I think just being aware of what your issues are and being here and being willing to listen is a very, very important thing to do. I really do. Other questions? Come on, Mitch, you got it.
I have
Yes, sir.
a comment about
Comment away.